All righty. So welcome to this Polaris MEP info session on process flow mapping. This is one part of a series that we've been doing on productivity tools that are well loved by our project manager, Ted Kennedy, and proven to help create results for manufacturers in Rhode Island and beyond. So Ted's going to set the scene for us, and then I'll come back in to talk about agendas and all the rest, and then back to Ted for some great information. We will be moving quickly today, so if you have any questions or comments or things that you'd like addressed, please use the chat feature, and we'll make sure we get to them as we go along. Ted?
Hi, I'm Ted. I'm project manager, as Erin said. I've used process flow mapping a number of times. One time in particular was at a previous company I worked at. We had customer orders that had to go out within 48 hours of the customer placing the order, and nobody could figure out how to get the orders out fast enough. We had to get it to 24 hours like our competitors did. And I used process flow mapping to get us down to the 24 hours by going through the entire process from order entry through shipping. So we're going to highlight some of what maps look like and some information, give you more information on how to do that today.
Wonderful. Sounds like quite a competitive advantage that process flow mapping ended up giving your company. So Ted's going to advance it, and I'm going to show you what the agenda looks like today. As I said, we are trying to make sure that we're moving along quickly. And these are all different things that are about identifying waste so you can remove it and talking about value-added processes. And, when we were starting this series of webinars, Ted was very specific that he wanted to start with spaghetti maps, which we did just before Thanksgiving. And this is because Ted's experience has been that spaghetti maps are kind of one of the easiest of the lean tools that help you understand and implement and go through. Now, that's not to say that process flow maps, which we're focusing on today, are hard. It's just to remind you that it's a concept that builds from our spaghetti map conversation. And who is Ted? Who is me? Who is Polaris MEP? For those of you on the call, most of you know that our sole mission is to help small and medium-sized manufacturers improve, grow, and increase profitability. And we do that by connecting you to our national network of MEP centers. MEP in Polaris MEP stands for Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and by delivering a wide variety of services that are customized to your needs. So we are going to go ahead and get started and bring it right back to Ted, diving into what is waste, which is the first item on our agenda.
Yeah, the first thing we want to go over is what is waste, because when we're doing process flow mapping, one of the things we're looking for are wasteful activities or processes that are taking place in the system. So these are some of the waste that we want to look for. There's defective products, overproduction, waiting, not utilizing talent properly, transportation, inventory, motion, and extra processing. So your customer does not want to pay in their piece price for any of these wastes. These are things that they don't want to pay for. They only want to pay for the actual product that is being given to them. So why make a process flow map? Again, the customer doesn't want to pay for waste. They only want value-added activities in the piece price. And by doing a process flow map, we can identify some of those processes and try to get them out of the system. So some of the fundamental things we're trying to do with process flow map is detail the current workflow so everybody understands it. Like the one I talked about before, a lot of people didn't know all of the steps involved from order entry of a customer order all the way through shipping. And by putting it on a process flow map, it gives everybody in the team who's trying to improve the flow a better idea of what's actually going on. This will also help you identify bottlenecks and other process issues that are in the system, and you can identify wasteful activities. And by doing that, it can let you and your team work towards an improved process flow that eliminates some of these wastes. So what is a process flow map and how it's created? We're going to show that now. It's really a graphical diagram that shows the flow of work and information through a system. And it shows all the series of events that lead up to to complete the process. And it will also show who's involved in the process. So a lot of organizations, when they go through a process, some people are very surprised on all the different activities to get a product out of the door, out of the building. So, and this really highlights what's going on. So here's a process flow sample of a process flow. And so you have graphical symbols that show how the information in the process goes through the system. So there's always a starting point and an ending point. And there's often decisions that are made during the process. Like for instance, this one says, receive the order online, review the requirements. Do you have the products in stock to ship? So typically there's decision points in the system. Any way you can get rid of these decision points usually save time and reduce possible errors in the system. Because you want to look at reducing errors when you're going through this also. So there is a difference between spaghetti diagrams and process flow maps. A couple weeks ago, I had a class on spaghetti diagrams. That shows the movement of people and products through the building and really looks at movement waste. How long a distance do products have to move when they're going from operation to operation, or the walking distance of people to do their work to get the product out. Process flow diagrams do not focus on that. This is more to look at all the processes that are in the system to get the product out, and does include information flow and decisions that take place. So it's a lot different from spaghetti diagrams. And so the process flows, we're looking at unneeded processes and other things that are in the system. So the first thing you really got to do is determine the scope of what you're studying. When I did the one on the order entry through shipping, I focused on one product segment that we were having issues with, that we couldn't get the products out in time. If you do this for the whole company, it may be too big a process to map. So it's good to have a focus of a certain activity with a certain value stream. And you go through the processes by seeing them. I studied and followed the whole information flow through the orders coming in, how they came into the system, people entering them if they were entered in manually, where all the paperwork flow going down to the production department, how long it took them to process the paperwork, getting in it, the whole thing. It followed everything right through the whole system. You cannot do it by sitting at your desk and assuming this is how it works. Once you go through that, you map it out and put the details down, and then you work with your team to create the current process flow map, and you improve it, and you have your improvement team review it. So that's the document you want to do, but it's got to be real activities that are taking place. I've seen people do these by sitting at their desk and say, oh, I know that the order goes from here, goes into the computer system, and the paperwork prints out over here, and they just do it from their desk. But a lot of times they're missing a lot of the activities, so don't do that. Do it that way. Here's a simple process flow map of somebody getting up in the morning, just to look at this. So there's a starting point when their alarm rings. The person decides, should I get up at this time? No, they hit the snooze button and they get to sleep another 5 minutes, and then the alarm rings again. Do I get up again? So it loops around until they decide, yes, I'm gonna get out, up, and they climb out of bed. And that's the end of the whole process. So it's just it's a certain activity that we're mapping out. So you cannot do this and map out everything in your company at one time. So just a specific process is what you're studying, something that you need to improve. This is a process flow map arranged by function. These are called swim lanes. It's like when you're in a big swimming pool in the Olympics and you have your own swim lanes. So this one is arranged by function, whoever's touching the product or the information. So like this one has a sales function, they finalize the contract, receive the purchase order, and then it goes handed off to the production operation that processes the product, and then it will go to the stores area for material. They'll send it into the production area, and then the purchasing department may have to purchase material. So you can see how it's all separated by activity. This is always a very good way of looking at it, so you can see how many departments are involved in all the handoffs of material or information between the departments. And by doing it this way, it can give you a lot of information versus the other way I was showing you. So once you identify the waste by looking at the map you did, you try to eliminate them by designing a new future state process map. And you do this as a team. It's good to get everybody's ideas involved, in the improvement team involved. And you map out a new process by using the same tools, and you come up with a new process flow map. And this map is used for the implementation of the new process. And that's exactly what I did when I got the orders out in 24 hours versus 48 hours. I came out with a new process flow map. I got everybody to agree on we're going to try it. And then we implemented the changes, and it actually worked. And we got them out in 24 hours by doing that way. So here's a large process flow map that show with swim lanes that I just made this for an instance one. So this a customer enters orders into their system. It comes into the company's order entry process. Purchasing gets a summary of all the orders and everything they need to get from suppliers. The suppliers will get their releases and send in whatever they can send in. And then if you can't ship it to the customer, somebody in customer service may have to contact the customer to see if they're willing to have a substitution. So it goes through this whole process, and you can see all the decision points and all the steps involved. So it's quite a process to do that.
Yeah,
But here's
can
a
you go back
simplified.
one thing
Yes.
real quick? We just got a
Yep.
question, and that was, can you talk about, it seems like there might be some standard icons, like sometimes square, sometimes diamond. Can you give a tiny little bit of information
Yes.
about what,
Yeah,
like,
these
do you
are
know something by seeing a diamond versus a square?
Yeah, so this symbol is like a data. This means it's data coming in. These are processes, and these are decisions where it can go one way or another. So do you need to contact the customer? Yes, and then it goes back up to the customer. No, then it goes down here, and it goes into the receiving area where they receive in the goods. So these are all decision points.
We got another question about this,
Yes.
because this is one of those swim lane diagrams, right? And so
Yes.
Theo asks, are the swim lane diagrams available standard on Visio, or are they custom? What kind of technology could you use to create these swim lane diagrams?
Yes, you can use it on Visio. You're going to pay there's an extra subscription on Visio to get the swim lanes. So you can use, the standard Visio is not set up for swim lanes. I'm not saying you can't do it, but there's a higher subscription level Visio, which comes with swim lanes already built into it. Then you can just put the objects into it, all the diagrams, to make the diagram.
I think if I remember too, Microsoft Project also has swim lane possibilities if you're a Microsoft user.
Yeah.
So there are some out there. Thank you, Ted. The other
Yeah.
question that kind of came through related to
Yes.
what you had going on there. So this obviously gave a lot of information.
Oh, there's a lot of information and we're going through it quickly. So
Yeah, no, but it's great because this is the whole point of the process flow map, right? Is how much information can be communicated so that everybody gets on that same thinking, that same understanding of the process going through. And the question was, how do you know when to do swim lanes versus when to do just a standard kind of more like the morning routine map?
if it's a very simple process, I don't think you need to do swim lanes, but if you have multiple departments involve multiple functions, I think the swim lane method is much easier because you don't want the process to go back and forth between departments. It's a total waste of time. You know, where say this one going up to this department, back down here, back up there again. So if you can identify all the movements like that, that's ideal places to eliminate waste. So swim lanes are really good when there's multiple departments. And like I said before, decisions, it's best to not have decisions in it. They not only can create errors, they delay the process from going through. Sometimes you probably have processes where there's paperwork, it goes from one area to another, and then it might wait there between people for a day or two before somebody makes a decision on what to do. So you want to eliminate those, and you want to eliminate other ways like inspection operations or even approvals. Why have if you can eliminate approvals, like it's going from one person to another person, and they just stamp their approval on it, then it goes off to another department. Try to eliminate those as much as possible.
So I'm guessing that as you go from this slide with current state to the next slide with future state, you'll have addressed some of those issues.
Yeah, so this one is more like an online ordering system where the customer goes into your online system, and they can see what is available, and they order only what is available, so that, and then that very easily creates a final orders to your suppliers and what is needed for the suppliers. So this one, the supplier can load what they have available into your system. The customer orders what's available, and the suppliers will send in what is needed, and it's shipped out to the customer. So I have a customer now who is going towards this system, and right now they have a system like this. This is why I put this here. They have a system like this, but they're working towards this system now, so that it creates. You can see there's no decision points in this. The customer already knows what they can get. It's like going on Amazon and it says, oh, you can get it in 2 days. Oh yeah, or a day or two, where you can see as you're entering the order in when you can get it. So it's a little different. It's quite different from this system. So it's very simple and no decisions involved. So any way you can do that is the best. So I totally eliminated the order entry function because the customer is entering the orders right into your system. So you can see the difference, the extreme difference between the two of these. We cut out so many steps. The orders can flow through the system much faster with this one. You could definitely go for a 24-hour delivery on this one. This one might take 2, 3, 4 days to get the order out. Very time consuming. So, and that's what we're trying to do with the process flow diagram, just try to get rid of unnecessary steps and make it very direct and getting rid of these decisions. So, and when you do this, you're going to actually follow the movement of the material or data you're mapping. Talk to people involved. You can't believe how much information you get from the people who do the processing. That's how they helped me determine how to get it from 48 hours to 24 hours by talking to the people. Then before you start doing this, the people who are involved in the process flow mapping activity, it's good to have them trained on basic process flow mapping beforehand. And while you're doing the process flow mapping, look for delays. You know, like I said, where there might be a delay between, so has somebody making a decision is a delay point of a couple days of delay there. Try to put that in the map as information for when you design the new system. And don't create the map by sitting at your desk or sitting in a conference room. And don't ignore any steps in the process, because there's some steps. Like I said, if you don't go out there and actually look at it, you're going to be missing some steps that you don't know about. It's amazing what actually happens in the process that people don't realize is happening. So any questions on this?
Any additional questions that we've got? Thanks, Leo, for putting your questions into chat. Brandon or Kristen, do you guys have any thoughts or questions regarding to process flow as Ted has outlined it today?
It's a very, very powerful thing to do, and you can really definitely find activities you can cut out of operations. I was just at a company this morning, and we didn't do a process flow, but I walked through some of the process with them, and there's definitely activities they're doing that would save them a lot of time. They're not getting enough production out now. So I could see things that they could do, and we'll be working with them to make improvements.
Yeah. So I did get one question in the chat, and it was regarding, you said several times, right? It's important to get out there and observe and really watch what's happening and all the rest. So is that something that you do, Ted? Do you train people on how to observe and how to create the process map?
Yeah, so one of the things that we can help you is actually, if you want to do something like this, we can help you lead a process so that way you're fully trained on it. We can come in, teach your team how to do process flow maps, and actually go through a process that you want to improve, and would work with your process flow improvement team and study it along with you and come out with a future state map that cuts waste out of the system. And once you learn how to do that one time, you can do it yourself from then on. You shouldn't have any issues doing it, but we've done it a number of times and we can help lead you with that.
Very cool. Well, thank you. So Ted, if you